morning to you and welcome to this edition of Headlines Nigeria on ITI. From our Abuja studios in Nigeria, I am Grace Ukos with a quick summary of headlines from our national dailies. Abduction is a major issue in the South-South and Southeast regions of Nigeria, and a screaming headline runs through almost all Nigerian dailies this morning. This Day reports, gunmen kidnap 4 journalists. The nation was again reminded of the degenerating incidents of kidnapping yesterday when 3 officials of the Nigerian Union of Journalists were abducted by gunmen in Abia State. This day learned they are on their way back from a meeting of the National Executive Committee of NUJ, which took place in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. The kidnappers have demanded a ransom of 250 million naira. Nigerian Compass carries the same story with the headline, NUJ Chair, Secretary, 5 others abducted, while Vanguard says, NUJ boss, 3 others kidnapped. Still in Vanguard newspaper, we see the story, Abuja Protest. Federal government summons ex-militants. The federal government yesterday invited ex-militants who stormed Abuja, the federal capital territory, on Wednesday to protest that they were excluded from the post-amnesty program by the Presidential Committee on Amnesty to a meeting. The details were not clear, but a presidency official told Vanguard that the ex-militants who came to Abuja last Wednesday have been invited to a meeting in Abuja today. Senators, governor disagree over location of Kogi Refinery. Senators Smart Adeyemi Kogi West and Otaru Ohaize Kogi Central have condemned the attempts by the state governor Alhaji Ibrahim Idris to site the proposed Kogi Refinery in Itobe, Kogi East, instead of Lokoja, as approved by the federal government. The senators, while condemning the attempt over the weekend, called on the federal government to stop the state governor from locating the refinery in his district to avert possible crisis within the ethnic groups in the state. This day newspaper, Emir of Kano escapes assassination attempt. But for Providence, the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Ado Bayero, would have been killed over the weekend. The traditional ruler escaped assassination last Friday by a lone gunman who attempted to kill him during the Muslim Jumat prayer in Kano. The suspect, 19-year-old Usman Abubakar, who lives in the Doraji quarters in Kano metropolis, was however apprehended by the police before carrying out the act. Punch newspaper, law to compel payment by states, firms underway. A bill seeking to make it mandatory for states and private sector operators to pay a national minimum wage to their most junior employees is underway. The President General of the Trade Union Congress, Mr. Peter Esele, made this known to Punch correspondents on Sunday. Just as President Goodluck Jonathan said he believed that the new minimum wage okayed by his administration for civil servants would grant some relief for them. Nigerian Compass, Ibori uses Delta State as collateral for 40 billion naira loan, says CBN governor. An allegation from the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Malam Sanusi Lamido, that the embattled former Delta State governor James Ibori used the Big Heart State as collateral for the 40 billion naira loan from Oceanic Bank during his tenure at the weekend, introduced a new twist to the Ibori trial. And in politics, Nigerian Compass, Kalu defects to PDP today. The planned move by the former Abia State Governor Odiuzo Kalu to the People's Democratic Party yesterday received a boost as his party, the Progressive People's Alliance, PPA, announced that it has fused into the PDP. A letter written to the PDP said that the leadership of both parties would meet today to finalize discussion. This day newspaper, 2011, Southeast governors on their own, say Igbo leaders. Less than 2 weeks after the 5 governors of the Southeast states formally excluded themselves from contesting the 2011 presidential poll, prominent leaders of the zone made up of Ohaneze leaders, pro-democracy and human rights activists yesterday came down hard on the governors, insisting that they were on their own. INEC questions PDP congresses in 5 states. As the People's Democratic Party prepares for the primaries to elect its candidate for the 2011 general election, the Independent National Electoral Commission has raised issues about the party's congresses in 5 states, declaring that they were not conducted in line with PDP constitution. The affected states are Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi, Oyo, and Plateau. Punch newspaper, State Congress, ANPP Lords, INEC. The Secretary of the All Nigeria People's Party National Convention Committee, Chief Venus Nwambe, has commended the Independent Electoral Commission for its contribution to the success of the party's state congress. And in business news, Nigerian Tribune, 5 foreign, 6 local banks scramble for sick banks. The race to acquire the troubled banks in the country has assumed a frightening and unhealthy dimension as both international and local banks are scrambling and jostling to be part of the exercise. As of the weekend, the Nigerian Tribune gathered that 5 foreign financial institutions and 6 local banks were in the queue to acquire some of the banks. Nigerian banks not gambling houses, Sanusi. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Lamido Sanusi, said on Sunday in Abuja that Nigerian banks were not gambling houses. This was in a reaction to a syndicated report in some national newspapers of Saturday, in which Sanusi was alleged to have referred to Nigerian banks as gambling houses. Nigerian Compass Union Bank shareholders sue Sanusi, others over planned sale of troubled banks. Prospective owners of the 8 troubled banks got a signal at the weekend that the coast was, after all, not clear for takeover of the financial institutions. Some shareholders of Union Bank Nigeria PLC, one of the affected banks, have taken the Central Bank of Nigeria to the appeal court sitting in Lagos over the planned sale of the institution they built with their hard-earned resources. Punch newspaper, 6.6 billion naira Nigeria at 50 budget, not a waste, Aganga. The 6.6 billion naira proposed for the celebration of Nigeria's 50th independence anniversary by President Goodluck Jonathan is not a waste, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Olusegun Aganga, has said. And in sports news, Punch newspaper, Spain ruled the world. Andres Iniesta's strike with 4 minutes left of extra time fired Spain to World Cup glory for the first time in their history as they vanquished Holland in a fractious final at Johannesburg Soccer City Stadium on Sunday. The success completes a marvelous 2 years for Spain, who were crowned European champions in 2008, as Holland's 25-match unbeaten run came to an end in South Africa. South Africa 2010, a huge success. Blatter. The president of the Federation International Football Association, Sepp Blatter, has commended South Africa for successfully hosting the World Cup. Blatter said he was not surprised by the achievements of South Africa at the tournament. Ban. Blatter, Hayatu praised Jonathan. FIFA President Sepp Blatter on Sunday praised President Goodluck Jonathan for rescinding his 2-year ban on the national teams from international tournaments. CAF President Issa Hayatu also praised Jonathan for reversing the ban. Vanguard newspaper, Mandela graces closing ceremony. Nelson Mandela yesterday turned up at the World Cup closing ceremony to greet his fans. The former South African president was smiling as he was driven across the pitch in a golf cart with his wife, Grace. The World Cup is finally over. A hearty congratulations to Spain after the very long match yesterday. And from us here at ITI Studios, we say thanks for joining us in this edition of the program. I am Grace Ukot. Thanks for logging on.